Hey guys, Florin here. In this tutorial we're going to build a component using React because a lot of you have requested it. So I'm going to show you how I built this timeline component that I have on my website. And I'm using it to showcase some of the professional achievements I had in 2019, and I also added something in 2020. Hopefully we'll have more. So yeah, this is something you can also use on your website to showcase your achievements, and maybe you can show them to your clients, or if you have a blog like I have, you can showcase it to your visitors. Alright, let's see how we can build this. Okay, so here we have VS Code on the left and the browser on the right. And I generated the project using Create React App. I'm going to put a link in the description in case you don't know what Create React App is. Basically it gives you a fast boilerplate for React. I also removed some files we don't need, and what we're left with is an index.js file, the app.js file where we have the main component, the app component, and the app.css file, which we're going to add the CSS in it. Okay. First, let's create a file where we're going to store the data. We're going to have the data locally, but you can easily save the data to a database or something. So we're going to have data.js, and here we'll have a variable, let's say data, which is going to be an array. I have here an example of an object. Let me remove this one, and let's go over what properties we have here. So basically we have an object, we have the text of the timeline data, we have the date, the category which has a tag, and the color, and the link with the URL and the text. So let's see this data on our example. So we have the text here with the data. Here is the category, so we have the tag here, you can see the tag like that, and the color, which is used for the background color. And then here we have a link with the link text and the URL. So when we click this link, it goes to the corresponding page. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the data. We can have this data copied over, or better, let me add some more data for my source. Okay, I have here another array with four objects. Okay, so you can see the same text, date, we have text, date, category, link. Okay, and we need to export it. Export default data so that we can use it in another file. Perfect. That's that. Now let's create the components. We're going to have two main components. One will be the timeline component, which is basically the entire wrapper. And then we're going to have the timeline item component, which is each individual item here. Okay, so let's create a folder, components, and inside it we're going to have a timeline.js, and we're going to have timeline item.js. Okay, so let's first create the timeline item. Let's say const timeline item, and this will take a data from its parent, which will be the timeline, and it will have a bunch of HTML here. So first we're going to have timeline item div. This will be the wrapper. Next, inside it we're going to have a timeline item content div. This is going to be another wrapper, and I'm going to go over why we need both of them. And here inside we're going to have a span with a class of tag, and obviously this will be the tag, so we can take the tag from data category tag. Let's look at the data again. So we have data category tag. Okay, and also it has a color, so let's use that too. We're going to do some inline styling here. Style and will be the background will be data category color. Next, we're going to have the time. Like that, data time. The text now, data text inside the paragraph tag, and a link. The ref will be data link URL, and inside it will have data link text. Let's look at the data again. So here we have data link URL and data link text. Let's make it so that the link will open in a new tab. So we're going to add target blank and also rel no opener and no referrer. This is something required now. We also, let's make it so that maybe we don't have a link in one of the objects. So let's check for that. Do we have a data link? If we do, then we're going to use the end operator, which will basically check if we have data link. If we do, then we're going to have this tag. Otherwise, will be undefined and we won't have anything. And the last thing, we're going to have a span with a class of circle. This is this circle, which will be on the line on the middle here. Okay, so now we have the component, the timeline item component. Let's export it. Export default timeline item, like that. All right, now let's create the timeline. Const timeline, it will be a function, so it will need the data. So let's import it. Import data from go one up and data here, because we're going to loop over the data and create all the timeline items. So let's also import timeline item from timeline item, like that. So let's check. Do we have data dot length is bigger than 0? If it is, then we're going to have, it will be a wrapper, timeline container. Basically, as I said, this whole wrapper for the app. And here we're going to map over all the data. Data dot map. You know what? Let's rename it. Let's rename it to timeline data, so that we can use it here. It's easier to understand. And here inside we're going to have individual data and an index, and it will have the timeline item, which will need data. Also, let's add the key index. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this component. Also, let's export default timeline, and we can use it in the app. So import it, import timeline from components timeline, and we can use it here underneath the heading timeline. And let's see if it shows. Okay, I forgot something very important. We need to have React from React, like that, and also here. Okay, perfect. So now we can see the data, sort of. Here, instead of data time, we have data text. I won't edit this out so you can see that sometimes we make mistakes. It's important to know how to fix it. Okay, so we have the tag, the text, and the link, and also the background color nicely here under the text. This is pretty much it for the React part. It's a pretty simple React component. The most complicated part will follow, and it will be the CSS. So let's get into it. Let me copy over some general styles. Let's see. We have a font here from Google Fonts, the box sizing border box for all the components, and then on the body we have a linear gradient, display flex for the body, and the elements will go in the column direction. A minimum height of 100 viewport heights, we're using the font, and we're removing the margin for the body. Okay, let's also center the H1 tag. Text align center. Perfect. Now let's style the timeline container. So this is the whole wrapper of the component. It's also going to be display flex direction. So if we leave it like that, all the items will go from the left to right. So we need to add flex direction column. Oops, flex direction column like that. And let's add some margin. Margin 40 pixels 0. So it will push the text up. Okay. Now let's do this red line in the middle. And that will be done on the timeline container on the after pseudo element. So we have a background color of this red color. The content will be empty. This is required for every after and before pseudo element. It will be position absolute. So for that we need to add also position relative here. And let's add the width and the height so we can see it. Width 4 pixels and height 100%, because we want it to go from the top to the bottom. Perfect. You can see it now appearing in the screen. What we need to do now is to work on the left positioning. And for the left we're going to use the calc function, because we want it to go 50% from the left, but we also want to subtract half of the width, so 2 pixels. And now it's perfectly in the center. Let's add the background color to the timeline container so you can see perfectly in the center there. Okay, now let's go to the timeline item. If you remember, here in the timeline item component, we have two wrappers. We have the timeline item and the timeline item content. And we need both of them because the first one will be half of the width of the parent, and then the second one will be 70% of the width of its own parent, so the timeline item. You can see here, if we go and inspect the element, you can see the timeline container. If I hover over it, let's add a border on it. Border 2 pixels solid purple. You can see that it's much wider than the items here. So basically here we have the timeline item, and then here we have the timeline item content. This is a little trick to make this box stay closer to the center. Okay, so let's do that trick in the CSS. The timeline item, it's also going to be display flex, justify content, flex end, and you'll see in a moment why. Padding right 30 pixels, a little bit of margin on the top and the bottom, and as I said, the weight 50%. Let's add the background color so we can see it. Background color purple. Okay, so you can see how it takes up half of the screen. But now if we go and add on the timeline item the end child and we say add here, we're going to target every other timeline item. And here we can say align self flex end. And you can see that a part of the items went to the right now. And for this one, we're going to say the reverse of justify content flex end, which is that the content flex start. And we're also going to revert the padding from the left to the right. Padding right will be now 0 pixels and padding left will be 30 pixels. Okay, in order to see better the effect, let's also style the timeline item content, which will be max width 70%. And now if we save it, you're going to see that it's pushed to the right here if it's in the left side, and it's pushed to the left side if it's in the right side. So it gets closer to the line here. Let's add another background color here so you can see, maybe orange red. Okay, perfect. And at the same time it has this padding on the left and the right, so it stays a little bit away from the line. I hope this makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know in the comments and I'll explain it again. Okay, let's continue styling the timeline item content. Let's remove all the background colors here, so it won't be so colorful. And we have one more. Oops, I removed the wrong one. This one, okay. Like that. And we can add the background color here on the item content. Okay. Also, let's add the border radius, 5 pixels, a box shadow, 0.05 pixels, RGBA 0.0.3. And for the width, we can say at least 40 pixels. Okay, you can see now that it's squeezed, and that's because I forgot to add on the root a width of 100%. Alright, now it looks much better. Now the entire timeline container takes up 100% of the width, and then the elements inside have room to breathe. Okay, perfect. Let's continue the styling. This timeline item content will also be display flex. It flex direction column. Oops, column. And align items. Let me save after all these so you can see. And align items, flex end. Like that. Have a padding, 15 pixels, and put the text to the right. Text, align, right. And obviously with this text will be the other way around. So let's do that. For the same parent, so the timeline item, the end child, odd, we're going to target the timeline item content. And the opposite will be text align left and align items flex start. Align items. Okay. Now you can see that the text goes nicely near the bar here in the middle. Okay. Let's have that arrow styled now. This will also be styled on the after selector. So the same content, then background color white, and let's give it a width and a height. Width 15 pixels, height 15 pixels. And now we can see something appearing here somewhere. Let's make it red so you can see. Okay, so that's the Nike's box there. We're going to transform it. Transform, rotate 45 degrees. And we're going to position it. Absolute. And because we want it to be relative to the parent, let's add position relative here. Okay. Now, for the right, we want to go half of the width, so 7.5 pixels. Perfect. And from the top, we want to go here in the middle. So we're going to use the same calculate function, 50%, and we remove half, 7.5 pixels. And now we have it there in the center. If we make the color white now, the background color, we see the nice arrow. But you can see we don't have a box shadow. So let's add a little bit of box shadow. Box shadow. 1 pixel to the right, minus 1 pixel from the bottom, 1 pixel spread, and RGBA 0.0.2. And now you can see it has a nice shadow appearing there. Let's see if I zoom in. Yeah, you can see it has the nice shadow. Alright, but again, we need to turn this arrow to the left. So let's do that. This same selector and after. Like that. So the odd child and the after pseudo element on the timeline item content. Now the right will be auto. The left will be the same, minus 7.5 pixels. And the box shadow, let's copy it from here. We'll change this one with this one like that. Perfect. We now have it in the left side. if the box is in the right side. So think of it as a mirror. Whatever we have in the left side, it has to be reversed in the right side. Yeah, but it's pretty obvious, I know you noticed. Okay, next let's style the elements here inside the timeline item content. So, timeline item content. First the tag, it will be a color white, font size 12 pixels, font weight bold, text transform uppercase, and have a padding 5 pixels like that. And in order to position it here on the other side, we need to use position absolute. So let's do that. Position absolute, top 5 pixels and left 5 pixels. And now you can see it jumped here in the top left. Maybe let's add the letter spacing 1 pixels. Okay, nice. I've just noticed that we don't see the time, so let's see why is that. Data time. And here in the data we have the date. Okay, my friend, I forgot. So, data date. That's why we didn't have it. Okay, you were probably screaming at your screen when you did it. Sorry about that. Let's continue. Next, we need to style the other tag. So this part, let's move it to the right. So the same. This one, the odd. We target the tag inside it. Left auto because we don't want to have any value, and the right 5 pixels. And boom, it jumped in on the other side. Okay, let's style the time that I forgot to add. So timeline item content time. Color will be 777 and font size 12 pixels. Next, for the paragraph, let's add the paragraph. Font size 16 pixels, line height 24 pixels, margin 15 pixels 0, and a maximum width of 250 pixels. So it will be squeezed a little bit here. Perfect. Let's type the link, timeline, item content, A, color 333, again, text decoration none, we want to remove the underline, font size of 14 pixels, and we can add that caret here. So we can do it on the after. So the element content, let me copy it over. Font size 12 pixels. Okay, and now we have the caret here. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, let's now place the circle here on the bar. So, timeline, item, content, circle. Background color white. Oops, background color white. Let's add the width 20 pixels, height 20 pixels so we can see it. Okay, let's make it purple, because why not? Now make it circle by applying border radius 50%. And we can position it. Position absolute. Like that. Okay. We have to keep in mind that this container is relative. So we have to put it on the bar, but relative to this component. So then the top position will be another calc function, 50% from the top, and we subtract half of the height. Okay. And for the right, if we set 0, it will be right here on the margin. But we want it to be on the timeline, so we subtract 40 pixels. And in order to be on the top, let's add the z-index 100 or something. Let's make it white back. And it's going to have a little border. Border, 3 pixels solid, and that red color, the 77. Perfect. Now you can see it on the line here. And this one we have to revert it. So instead of the right, we'll have the left. Let's add this selector that we used a lot. And right auto and left minus 40 pixels. And it jumped on the bar here. Perfect. Everything is perfect. You can see now we have the nice React timeline. Let's copy some data over to see how it changes if we have a lot of data. Let's see. Take this item and copy it over a couple of times. You can see it goes right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, and so on. So that's pretty neat. It's dynamic now. Okay. Oops, how many I added? Okay. That's pretty much it for the base styling. Something I did on my website is to make it responsive. So when it was on the smaller screen, it had different styling. So let's do that, why not? Add some media queries. Media, only screen, and max width 767 pixels. This is a standard width used on Bootstrap, so I'm using it over the projects. Here we have a couple of things we need to fix. So let's see how it looks here. Inspect, and if we click this button, you can see now, oops, we can't close that. So if we inspect, you can see that the tag here goes nicely on top and the text goes underneath and it's centered. Also, we remove that after selector on the link and we center it. So let's do that. On the timeline, oops, timeline item content. So we want the both targeted now. The one from the left and the one from the right. So let's add them both. Item content like that. We have a padding of 15 pixels, 10 pixels, text align center, and the line items center. Okay, that centers everything. Next, for the tag, let's make it be 100 width. So timeline item content tag width 100%. And now you can see that it goes outside of the box. And that's because we have left here 5 pixels. So in order to fix that, we need to subtract the double of the left value and respectively the right value. So minus 10 pixels. And now it's nicely there. For the timeline item content time, we wanted to push it down a little bit. So margin top 20 pixels. Oh, it's not a class, it's a tag. So let's remove the dot. Okay. And let's style lastly the where is it? The link. We want to add back the text decoration underline. And on the after pseudo element, let's remove after. Let's display none. And we remove the caret, and now it's nicely on the mobile also. This is it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. The CSS part might be a little tricky, but as I said, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. You can use this component if you want. I'm going to put a link in the description below. Just make sure you share with me. I want to see what you build with it. Maybe you can style it around and create something fun out of it. I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, give it a like. Make sure you subscribe for more videos. And I see you in the next tutorial. Bye!